Good afternoon and welcome to the Joy Show, where being yourself is fully celebrated. Joy is an acronym for just one you. And as we begin today, I'd like to start with our land acknowledgement. As we gather from many places on Turtle Island, we as settlers are grateful for the opportunity to meet here. And we thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years, including the Métis, Inuit, and all Indigenous people. And although I'm not a person of African descent, I am committed to continually acting in support of and in solidarity with Black communities seeking freedom and reparative justice in light of the history and ongoing legacy of slavery that continues to impact Black communities in Canada and in the United States. We acknowledge the contributions made by both in shaping and strengthening our community and our countries. By making this acknowledgement, we strive to be allies and take an active part in reconciliation. We recognize our oneness, we realize our history, and we choose to create a new reality. We are one. Well, my guest today is a remarkable artist, entrepreneur, uh, a woman of many, many, many talents, I gotta say. And what we're going to talk about today is her new YouTube channel, Arlene's Amazing Planet. What's fascinating is she creates these little shorts, these little informative, educational, funny, and fun facts about the world, about animal life, anything about the planet. She does an amazing job. And we're going to find out a little bit about the inspiration that created Arlene's Amazing Planet. Arlene, welcome, sweetheart.
Hi.
And so, as a little aside, Arlene is my eldest daughter. So, so tell us a little bit. Well, tell us a little bit about your background. Let's start there.
Background. Well, I got for the Amazing Planet. The background would be the fact that I love learning. I love getting excited about this planet we live on. I love finding out facts. I love, inspiring others to find out more. And what I found through raising my grandchild after raising two kids is that I love it as much as they do. And if I can get excited about it, I want to get them excited about it, because I think a lot of times we lose the excitement and the joy of just pure learning. And what else are we here for but to learn?
There
So,
you go.
hence my channel.
Wonderful. Now, you're sitting in your little studio.
This is my office, Creation Space Central.
And so when you're doing your videos, because you have that green fabric, it shows whatever image you want to have up, correct?
That's correct. So I would normally point up to something that doesn't exist and say, this creature is, and I tell you lots about it and give you lots of information.
Awesome, awesome. So I've watched many of your videos. I don't think I've watched all of them yet. There are a lot of them on your channel. And I gotta say, I have so much fun watching them. Not only are they funny, many of them, but what I love is how informative they are. And I think Deja has a couple set up. So maybe we could show one right now, Deja, and then Arlene can talk a little bit about it. And this is her channel here.
Some funny history or cool history, depends on what you like. Let me know. In 1820, that's right, tomatoes were actually put on trial. Do you know why? Because people believed they were deadly, that they were Satan's fruit, that you couldn't eat them or you would die. This was kind of silly. So Robert Johnson decided he'd just eat an entire basket in front of everybody and prove them wrong. And he did. Thank God, because that's where our pastas come from. That's where a bunch of our good stuff comes from. So, thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Bye. See, quick, fun, straight to the point. Now you know why we can eat tomatoes. That and a bunch of our Indigenous people, also speaking of, had introduced a bunch of fruits and vegetables to us that we wouldn't have known about if it wasn't for them. So thank you guys. You're amazing.
Well, it's interesting because you bring up things that Like, it's the stuff that I've never even imagined thinking about, you have brought up on this channel. What sort of inspires you? Like, what gets you going on this?
My own interests. To be honest, it's like I go into these deep dives into the internet and into different searches and stuff, and I'm always looking for things that I've never heard of before, facts I didn't know about, things that are funny, things that are insightful, things that make you go. Like I did one on kids at one point that did amazing things. They're world record holders. Like one kid was at age 3 or 4 a DJ, and I'm like, I find that fascinating and inspiring. So that's what I want to bring to kids. That's what I want to bring to people, is the fact that every day can be an inspiration, and you just got to look for it.
Well, there's so much, and I know we've got a bunch of videos of yours to show. Now, you've got one on crocodiles, and I have not seen this one. So, Deja, can you put that one up? I'd like to see this one and see what you have to say about crocodile.
When you get your next
We got to get through my ads first.
big idea,
Well,
say sparkly ketchup. Grammarly.
there we go.
Crocodile. These guys are the largest reptiles on Earth. How cool is that? Crocodiles produce tears when they eat their prey. Did you know that? The oldest crocodile is 140 years. Crocodiles don't chew their food. Their jaw actually moves side to side, so they actually grind their food. And they can hold their breath up to an hour. Did you know that? And they also swallow stones to improve their digestion. Crocodiles can live 35 to 75 years and range in size from 4.9 to 23 feet, or 1.5 meter or 7 meters. Did you also know that they weigh anywhere between 40 to 2,600 pounds, or 18 to 1,200 kilograms? That's awesome. They come in dark green when they're adults, but when they're young, they're yellow with black stripes. Who knew? Now, their diet is made up of fish, amphibians, birds, reptiles, and mammals. But did you know that there's also predators for them? That's right. Big cats such as jaguars and leopards, anacondas, and pythons will all eat a crocodile. Wow.
Oh, I didn't know about crocodiles.
Who knew? Who knew? Like, that they could, number one, live that long, but be that size. Like, that's really amazing. Now,
Yeah.
have you thought about, sending this information to the school boards or whatever, that these could be used for educating children?
Well, that's what I'm currently working on. Fortunately and unfortunately, because Jude is my inspiration for doing all this, I don't get as much time to do all the paperwork that I'd like to. But yes, I'm actually making up booklets so that they can be used I'm going to introduce it to the school board for one, booklets that they can do along with the videos to
Yeah.
learn the facts, and do kind of like sketches and do, like check information off and write little things about the stuff that I've talked about. Plus, I want to make it for homeschoolers to make it easier for them, because unfortunately with homeschooling, I mean, these parents that do it, they are amazing because they get paid so limited amount to do it, to get all their resources and stuff, that anything that I can add as far as resources go to make it easier and more affordable for them to educate the kids in all kinds of history and math and so on and so forth, I'm going to be there. So yes, I am working on booklets. I'm working on introducing it to homeschooling and the education board in hopes of getting some support through them.
Wonderful. Now, I know when you started these, you started with animals. You
Yes.
are also a wildlife photographer,
Yes.
and your photos are spectacular, to
Well,
say.
that crocodile video, I took that. That was my video. I stood
Where-
over, I was videotaping that crocodile. And in fact, that crocodile's bigger mate. He's one of the huge ones. He's about 20 feet long and quite a few pounds. I was within that distance of him. It was pretty awesome.
Where on the earth were you to be hanging with crocodile?
I was in Cozumel, Mexico, and I was at an animal sanctuary.
Oh,
It is an amazing place. When I'm blessed enough to be able to go there, I go and I spend as much time as I possibly can at this sanctuary, videotaping birds, pelicans, crocodiles, quaddies. They even have a rare pygmy raccoon that's only found in Cozumel, Mexico, on this small little island. And there's only about 200 of them left in existence. And I was blessed enough to be able to photograph them. Last time I was there, I wasn't able to film them though. So I'm hoping to get back soon.
wow. Well, you'll have to consider going to Thailand at some point and going to the
Mm-mm.
elephant sanctuary there. And
100.
there's one in Africa as well.
Yes.
Um, the the um, the inspiration for this, I know, is your grandson, my great grandson, who is now 6 years old. What does he have to say about some of your videos? Like, what are his favorites?
Um, I think he likes a little mixture of everything. But he's always like, who knew? I'm like,
That's my favorite.
I think part of it is just getting the interaction. But the funny thing is he goes to school, and when he talks about animals, he's very well versed because since he was little, that's where my inspiration came from. Because as a kid, I loved animals, and it was really my zen place. But having Jude, I got to re-explore that again through raising him and taking him out every day to the parks and taking pictures of animals and explaining to him all the cool things they get to do. So yeah, he loves it, and when he goes to school, he's fairly knowledgeable when it comes to animals and stuff.
That's cool. Now, you are a wildlife animal advocate.
Yes.
And I remember a story you did that was in, I think was it in the Calgary Herald or was it on the
CBC News. CBC News did a bit on it. Yeah.
around coyotes?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about coyotes and why people tend to be very afraid.
Yeah, coyotes. It's like everything. It's just like with people. For the most part, coyotes are amazing. They stay away from people. They stay away from your dogs. They just want to hunt mice and voles and moles and rats and basically whatever there's an overabundance of, that's their food source. So for the most part, I watched them for about 2 years. I'm fortunate enough to live onto a field where coyotes roam on a regular, and I watched them hunt, and I watched how they would catch the scent of a human or a dog, and they would hightail it the other direction before the people even know they were there. They really don't want to interact with us. That's why we tell people not to feed or habituate coyotes, because even though you may have a coexistive relationship with a coyote, the person down the street may not, or they might have a children, and when you feed them, they learn how to eat from hand, and then they start approaching humans, and that's where we end up with some of these bad situations. But for the most part, coyotes have no interest in us, angry or otherwise. They just really want to eat their food, raise their young, and exist. So I found them to be very peaceful and very loving creatures. I didn't have any negative experiences with the 2 years I was filming and taking photographs of coyotes.
Wow. And it's interesting because I know you posted some signs as well, letting people know, like, don't let your dogs run here or your children run here, because they were having their babies and stuff, and so they would be more protective of their young at that point.
Well, and
Um,
I had kids out back. I was filming the coyote, and all of a sudden, these two young boys, about, I think they were 7 and 10 brothers, and they had their dog, and they were chasing the female pregnant coyote. And I remember thinking, like, you know, this is common sense. For one, you don't want your dog bitten because of the diseases that coyotes carry, because they're wild animals and they eat rodents. So their body is not equipped like our dog or our children to
yeah.
manage these kind of things. So it's very important that we understand that even though we don't want to hurt the coyotes, we also don't want them biting or interacting with us. So when these kids were chasing them, that was my red flag. I went and I printed up flyers on my own with my own money and everything else saying, please do not chase or do because of these reasons. For one, coyotes keep the mouse control down. Like, I mean, mice, voles, gophers, all of those things, that's their natural food. And if the coyotes aren't there, that comes in abundance. And that's why you get mice in your house. That's why you get voles, because we're eliminating the things that are meant to eat them.
So there's a balance in nature
Yes.
that we as humans are a little disrespectful of.
Yes. Yes, unfortunately, if we fear something, we kill it or we run from it. We don't learn about it and do it. And that was one of the reasons why I started all of this as well, is because people need to be educated as to how important, like when a bird lands and eats some seeds, well, those seeds go through the bird and get planted, and that's how we get new plants and new growth. When the coyote eats the mouse, it saves it from being in our house and spreading disease. There was I can't remember. I think it was an emperor in Rome. He actually waged a war against cats. I actually did a video on it, and he eliminated all the cats in this place, and that's what started the Black Plague.
Oh, I remember that story.
Yeah.
Because of course they weren't eating the rodents, which of course spread the plague. Now this video is your coyote video, I think.
Yes, I love my coyotes. I miss them.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's an amazing shot.
Yeah.
When I consider the work that you do, I'm always a little bit surprised. My children surprise me. I gotta say, you're all so remarkably talented and all in different ways, which is, it's lovely. It's beautiful. I don't quite understand it, but it's beautiful. What you do, really. And the one of the areas where I've seen people do the silliest things. I mean, coyotes, okay, but what about bears? I mean,
Oh my God.
where you
People have
live,
no respect for them.
like you live close to the Banff National Park. There's one of your bear photos.
Yes.
And people, we hear about people being mauled by a bear. Bears don't seek us out.
No. But with the, and I mean, how to best say this? We're encroaching on their land, right? So when someone gets attacked, it's because we spooked the bear or we got too close. Living close to Banff, living close to Jasper and those kind of things, I'm out there quite a lot, doing video and stuff, and I'm at a respectful distance, and I don't seek them out. If I see them, foraging by the road, which this was a mom and her 3 cubs, and they were foraging by the road. And in fact, one of the cubs got curious about traffic and was trying to get on the road. So we ended up laying on the horn to get him off the road, because I would rather them run away from me and not get hit by a car than get the photo. But when I was an example of how humans inappropriately interact with bears is, I was in Jasper and there was a brown bear. He was probably a yearling, which means he's big enough to do damage, but he was up against this sheer wall, and there was 52 people out of their vehicles surrounding this bear trying to get shots. And I'm talking children and elderly people. Everybody was out there. If that bear had turned, it would have been bad, very, very bad.
Yeah, I think that's, I think part of what I love about your videos is it sparks our curiosity and our imagination.
Yes.
And I think it's fascinating to me how limited we are sometimes with our imagination.
Yes.
When we see a wild animal on the side of the road, cool. Take a picture from inside your car if you so choose. And I know you have a big lens on your camera that can be a long way away and get a very tight shot. Not all of us have that, of course. But I think we need to use a little of imagination going, this is a wild animal. It is a deadly animal. And bears are vegetarian. They're not going to seek out a human being to eat.
They're not actually vegetarian. They
No.
are omnivores. So they will eat a variety of food.
Okay.
They will eat meat. They eat fruits, they eat vegetables. They prefer fruits and berries.
Yeah.
But no, they will eat young deer. They will eat young moose. So
Okay.
no, they are
new fact for me today.
So
I'm getting educated. I like it.
We smell like junk food. You know, we are junk food. We put stuff in our hair to make it pink. We eat food that isn't necessarily good. So they don't want to interact with us. They do want to stay away from us. And I found that, like, my brother was playing golf one day on the Kananaskis course, and this isn't uncommon. But he was playing around, and a brown bear came onto the course, and they were like, oh. So they all just kind of stood back and let the bear do what it was going to do, and it just wandered on. Well, the next tee wasn't quite as casual. They started screaming and freaking out, and which you should not do.
Exactly.
Walking away from it, and if the bear starts to approach you, depending on what kind of bear it is, you act differently. If it's a grizzly, you play dead. If it's a black bear, you make aggressive huffing sounds. Like, they have videos on how to interact with a bear if you need to. But for the most part, if you don't acknowledge them, they just keep going.
Yeah.
But these people started freaking out and screaming and losing their mind and running, which is the worst thing you can do. What is the first thing prey does? If you look at a mouse, you look at a rabbit, you look at prey animals, their instinct is to run. But that's what gives chase. That's what makes it fun. So don't be prey. Don't be prey. Don't run.
Pray.
Yeah.
Do pray, but don't
pray. Don't run.
Exactly. Well, I think, like, I know when you enter Banff National Park, and probably other parks are like this as well, they give you a pamphlet about bears saying, do not engage, do not get out of your car, do not feed them. These are wild animals. Now, another one.
Music, talk loud, have bells, carry bear spray.
I used to, when I went hiking in British Columbia, I always had a bell on my backpack.
Yes.
Because they don't want to interact with you. And so if they know you're there, they will keep their distance. One of the other things that has been fascinating to me is like elk and moose in the wild, where people will approach them, and they're massive animals, and they will trample you to death like that.
In a heartbeat. Because, like, okay, so, like, literally the elk in Canmore and that are so habituated to people that they've actually learned how to use the crosswalk. So they know to wait until they see the little white human, and then they actually cross. So it tells you they have learned abilities. But you catch them, see, people think they're so docile. Well, yes, so 70% of the year they might be docile. But you get them during rutting season or mating season. And they go blind with rage and bent up testosterone, and you can get yourself in a very bad place. Either that or get yourself between a female and their young. I mean, you know how it is just with women at school with their kids. You don't want to do it with a bear or an elk or a deer.
Or any animal, really.
Any wildlife. I mean, it's good to let them just kind of go around you. Like the one time I got yelled at by a lady because I was sitting on a table and I was taking pictures of the elk. The thing that she didn't realize is I was sitting on the table when they came across me. I wasn't about to move. I'm going to take my photos and I'm going to be invisible. And this woman was like, no, you need to be far away. And I said, please stop creating attention that's unneeded where I am currently, because I was here when they came out of the brush. But it's one of those things. I love people wanting to learn more. I love people wanting to be around the animals. We just need to learn how to coexist with them safely. And
This is an
Exactly.
elk.
Good.
This is the
Ooh,
largest of the deer species, weighing in at a whopping 700 pounds. They also make a very unique call that's using their nose, their mouth, and their voice box to make a roar whistle. This is an elk. This is the largest of the
That's cool. Because I think, especially when you go to Banff National Park, you get into the city of Banff or the town of Banff or village
Yes.
of Banff. I think it's probably a town by now. There is a lot of wildlife right there.
Oh,
And
yeah.
there's lots of places to hike. This is in the Rocky Mountains for anybody who doesn't know. And if we're not paying attention, we can get ourselves into a really rough spot. But if we're paying attention, we can
You're
see
good.
truly remarkable things.
So in Banff, when I'm out, when I'm out there, the things that I have seen right in the township,
Mhm.
wolf pack. We have a wolf pack in and around
In
the area.
town.
We have 2 very large male grizzlies. One's called the Boss and one's called the Scar or something. I can't remember his name, so I apologize to those who follow them closely. But they will walk right down the train tracks that go between the highway and Banff National Park. So as you're entering, you're very likely to run into them. But the thing is if you are stocked with knowledge, the odds of having an aggressive attack are very, very slim. And
Right.
the thing is I want you to appreciate them. I want you to be curious about the animals. I just don't want you to approach them or get out of your car or try to feed them, because things go bad fast. And when they do go bad, it's bad for everybody.
And it gets blamed on the animal.
The animal gets put down, which is the really unfortunate part. Is even like we had a coyote pack. We had 3 of them put down one year because they had been habituated. Now they weren't they weren't being aggressive. They weren't being mean. They were actually starving and hungry.
Yeah.
And they were approaching people for food. Well,
Mm.
unfortunately, in the eyes of, because not everybody knows how to do this stuff. Now that these animals are approaching people freak out. The animal freaks out. He gets, something happens, it's going to be a problem. So before anything happens, if an animal's habituated, they'll just put it down. And that's so unfair that this poor animal learned that it was okay to seek food at a young age,
Right.
and was starving. And because someone gave it food, the animal lost its life.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, we're going to take a little commercial break here. And so don't go anywhere. You're watching The Joy Show. This is Arlene Vernon with Arlene's Amazing Planet. And she's got great tidbits for us still to come. Be back in just a moment.
Watch me change when you change the way you look at things. The things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
New Thought Media Network is on the rise. We're looking to grow with you. Do you have technical media experience? Or perhaps a desire to learn? Are you willing to volunteer your precious time and attention? We share this message to benefit all. If you possess a computer with a camera and a microphone, we will share our knowledge with you. behind the scenes, or being the star. Let us bless our one. Contact us at info@ntmedia.org.
And we're back. This is the Joy Show. And my guest today, Arlene Vernon, is a wildlife photographer. She is a video creator, creating this incredible program called Arlene's Amazing Planet, where she leaves us with fun facts, silly facts. I'll tell you, it's really, some of it's very, very funny, very, very funny. So we've been talking about how humans interact with wildlife, and that obviously is a problem. But let's go to some other of your videos that give fun facts, like silly facts. I think if you can find one of those videos around the world where there's some strange, odd thing going on, because I think some of the stories you cover are very bizarre.
Yes.
You
I like to put entertainment value in there as well for the adults, so that they can enjoy it as much as the kids. Just because we all like to learn.
Absolutely. And I've shared some of your videos with friends of mine, and they really like them. Like they'll watch them over and over and over again because they're so fun. So anybody who's watching, please subscribe to Arlene's Amazing Planet. You'll be glad you did, whether you have children in your life or if you're just an adult who's curious.
History. That's right. Henry V actually had people called grooms of the stool. That's right. These people were paid to ensure that his bottom, when he went to the washroom, was tended to properly. Yeah, doesn't sound like a great job to me, but everybody who did it actually ended up with a knighthood. Who knew? Now,
Who knew?
Yep. Now you know, even if you didn't want to.
I'll tell you, I can think of a lot of jobs I would like to have. That is not one of them.
You could be a knight. There's a bonus to it.
God, I'll pass on the knighthood. I think there's a rule that to be a knight, I don't know. Do you have to be a man to be a knight?
I don't know.
Oh, there's something you can research for your next video.
More research for the next one. Yeah, women. I think Joan of Arc was a knight. So I will have to research it because I'm pretty sure she was knighted. I also think that Mulan ended up sort of with a semi-knight thing as far as that goes. But like I said, I have to research them.
Go do some research and you'll be back with us another time to tell us about that or get those videos up. So what is the most unusual fact you have come across as you've been creating these videos?
Oh my gosh. There's like a gecko who shoots blood out of its eyes. I think that's one of the ones that was really bizarre. And that was its defense mechanism, was actually shooting blood straight out of its eyes. I think that was one of the more bizarre ones. Another one is a little grumpy frog that, for defense, you know, when a predator comes into its hole to grab it, it puffs up and gets really fat so that it can't pull it out of the hole. It doesn't get big to scare it off. It gets big so it can't be pulled out of its little nest. That was interesting.
That's cool. And what about weird laws?
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, my goodness. There are so many messed up laws that are still in existence because people just, I don't know, they don't want to get rid of it or whatever the reason is. But Alaska alone is a shining example of what? One of the things is you're not allowed to push a moose out of a plane. Now, I don't know what would possess you to want to push a moose out of a plane, or even getting the moose in the plane.
Exactly. That was going to be my question. Getting a moose in the plane.
Someone's done it. They made a law against it.
Yeah. Have you looked at some of the laws on the books in Calgary?
I've done Canada. I actually got some backlash because people are very proud of being part of Canada. And I did do some weird laws on Canada. Like we are not allowed to swear in public, although I've heard many people doing it.
Me too. I've corrected a few people for doing it.
Yes, yes. There is more into it. You'd have to go to
did you know that you can't really tell the joke, how did the chicken cross the road, in Quitman, Georgia, because you're not allowed to let your chicken cross the road?
True.
Did you also know that in Switzerland, you're not allowed to hike naked? Oh my goodness, there goes my weekend plans. Those ticks will starve to death because I will have to wear bands. Another thing that's really funny is in Scotland, if someone comes to your door and knocks at your door and says, "Hey, can I use your loo or your bathroom?" You got to say yes. You got to let them into your private bathroom. It's an actual law, and let them go do what they need to. I couldn't imagine. Plus, it's not as odd as in Australia, in a town called Victoria, you actually have to get an electrician to change your light bulb because you're not allowed to legally change a light bulb without an electrician's license. I never knew that there were so many cool and weird laws.
Well, now I don't know if I've got this right or not because I'm from Calgary, obviously, as well. There anymore, but definitely from there. But I understand there's still a law on the books that if you get kicked out of town, they have to give you a horse and a gun.
No, actually, they had somebody. What happened was a few years back, somebody actually said, "Well, if you're kicking me out of town, I require these things." And they said, "Oh, well, we're going to abolish this law." So, because it was requested, it was abolished.
It was
It was active for many, many years, though. You would
yeah,
get a gun and a horse.
yeah, like that's that's kind of amazing to me. I think that's hilarious. So what else? There was a few others from Alaska that were very odd when I listened to that video.
You can't sell a taser to a toddler. That was one of the things. Like, no selling tasers to children. I'm kind of like, well, yeah. You can't get a moose drunk. Like, please
Aw,
don't give wildlife booze. You know, like, there's lots of good things, right?
wow.
Okay, so
Oh,
some funny history. Did you know that America in 1812 built a fort to prepare for a war with Canada? It was a long time ago. And, anyways, they built this massive fort capable of housing and keeping people safe, but did it about a mile and a half into Canada. So it actually became Canada's fort, and it was nicknamed or hashtagged Fort Blunder. Who knew?
It's actually up for sale currently.
it's
Fort
hilarious.
Blender could be yours.
Hey, let me
There we
check
go.
my bank account. And what are they asking for? Do we know the price?
I think it's $1 million something, but it's not a lot for this
No,
huge.
that's not bad. That's like a small condo in Toronto.
There we go. Or a 2-bedroom if you're lucky for a
No,
couple
no.
million.
Not a 2-bedroom, that's for sure. So, as you continue this,
Yes.
are there any stories you're kind of looking into right now that are exciting you or sort of stimulating the brain cells a little bit?
Honestly, it's an everyday adventure, and it's just learning some really cool things to get people excited. I mean, obviously, I want to do more stuff to make sure I'm hitting the curriculum that schools and stuff need. But I want to keep it fun, and I want to keep it funny and entertaining. And some of the things, especially when you're teaching history or math, it can be hard to find facts that aren't a little mundane, right? So it's about how do you introduce these things. So I'm always excited to find something new and a new way to deliver it so that kids and adults alike are engaged.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, I think that's the part for me that's been so cool about your videos. And you have shorts and longer videos. You've got them
Mhm.
on TikTok and Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Yep.
So people can get hashtag Arlene's Amazing Planet anywhere you like to do your social media.
Yes,
Um,
most of my videos are on YouTube, though. I have like 333 videos, I think, on that one, and everybody else has got like 20 or 30. But
yeah.
YouTube has the gamut, and you can search it through categories.
Oh, that's cool. So what are
I'm
the
starting
different
to make
categories?
playlists. I'm
Yeah.
starting to make playlists. Like there's an animal playlist, and then I'm going to make a geography playlist and a word of the day playlist, so that when people go into it, they can more research what they're focused on. So
Okay.
that's
So
what I'm
give me
working on currently.
a word of the day. What What would that look like?
So I have a picture of a girl and she's all messed up, and the word is disheveled. And I say, this lovely girl is looking very disheveled today.
That's a great idea to create something where people can learn the meaning of words,
Mhm.
but again, in a funny, fun, practical way. That's
Well,
very
one of my big hopes is that people are taking little people, and I'm talking about, like, when they start babbling and stuff, like, and sit them down and let them listen to some of this stuff and let them absorb it, because too many people talk down to their babies and stuff. That's something I've never done with any of my kids. And I
yeah.
think that it's really good to get them learning these words and get them learning these things right off the top, and doing it in a way that isn't as, like, I don't think we have to lower how we speak to them. I think that they will rise to the occasion when we talk to them like you would an adult. I think that they really benefit from being talked to in an exciting way, but in a way that's not, you know, being brought down for them, but actually raising them up.
Yeah, I think we sometimes forget that, children are people.
Yes. They're, they're
Well,
just
that
little versions of us. But you look at the kids whose parents who've, introduced them to all the presidents, or the kids that have introduced their, whatever, like they call them savants and stuff. But I mean, when you introduce and give children the opportunity to embrace this stuff, and instead of putting on, minimal things, put on a documentary. Get them
yeah.
interested in the deeper things, because you know what? We only limit them by the box we put them in. So, like, let's ignite that box. And that's what I want to do is, instead of just showing all the play places or just concentrating on the ABCs, I want to get into stuff that's going to ignite more.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. One of the things, I learned way down the road after I'd already raised 3 children, decided to have a 4th, with number 4, we actually taught her sign language. We started it when she was about 8 months old, and it was interesting that, people talk about the terrible twos that, and I don't think the twos are terrible. I think it's a frustrating time for kids because they can't communicate. We
Yes.
didn't have that with Genevieve. She was able to ask for food. She was able to say please and thank you. She was able to say, I want milk. And so because she was able to communicate with us, she had quite an extensive vocabulary as far as we could learn anyway. That's-
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and it just changes the game when we allow our children to stretch.
Yes. Yes,
I
just stretch everything. I have a few people that I know that were through my husband's office, where their little ones are watching it, and it's so cute to see, like a 1-year-old going, "Who knew?" Or
Ah,
or
yeah,
"I like bunnies," like.
you should get parents to send you those little video clips where you
Well,
could do a video with little ones just going, "Who knew? Who knew? Who knew?" Well, I know when I saw your first video that I saw was the red-tailed squirrel,
Yes.
and I love that video. And my big thing with it was that who knew? Like when you got to the end of your video, it was like there was just something very engaging, very fun. And I think that's what makes your videos something that people can really, really use. And I know here at New Thought Media, we're looking at getting you into the network so that you can create some of your videos here and create a children's show on this network. I think that
Because
would be a cool thing.
well, and it would be great to teach kids that what you conceive is what you make, and that you can change your world as long as you're staying on the upbeat, positive, and you're moving forward and you're doing good things. You can make good things happen, and kids need to know that. It's amazing what you can do if you put your mind to it.
Well, that's it exactly. And oh, here's that squirrel video. Deja found it. So
That's one of the first.
Hello, my lovelies. This is a red-tailed squirrel. How cool is that? A red-tailed squirrel, believe it or not, can come in black and brown. I did not know that, seeming that its name is red-tailed squirrel. But nonetheless, maybe its tail stays red. Now, this little guy, when he has babies or she has babies, they have what they call kittens. That's what they call their babies, even though they're not cats, which again, well, that was a little weird, but they're such cool creatures. Did you know that they can swim? And they can hang upside down to get all the stuff off of the trees. It's so wicked awesome. They're like the coolest creatures in the forest. They're like the ninjas of the forest. These guys also do not hibernate. So what do they do during the winter? For food, for shelter? Well, they live in trees. They bury their food, and they also have stockpiles in their actual tree. So they look for food all year long. Who knew?
I love that. I love that video. It's just, you know, you have such fun expressions on your face. You're obviously enjoying yourself. And that, I think, is probably one of the most engaging aspects of what you do, is the fact that you really are having fun.
Yes. Yes, and that's what I want to bring to everybody else, because even when I'm researching it, even when I'm, editing the videos and stuff, it's fun because, I'm 50 years old and I'm still learning. Like I am still there, and it's exciting to me sometimes to find these things out and just be like, wow, like I had no idea, that sound travels faster in water than it does in air, or that, that there's actually a place where lightning happens on a regular basis. You can go there any day of the week and it's happening in this place. I had no idea.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
amazing. Oh, here's the panda.
I love me some pandas.
Giant pandas. Oh my goodness, look how cute this little one is eating bamboo. Oh my goodness, did you know that their diet is 99 or like 98% bamboo and bamboo leaves, but they will eat other things if need be, such as fruits and vegetables and fish and small mammals. Who knew? Did you know the giant panda's distinct black and white markings actually function as camouflage? That's right. Its face, neck, belly, and rump all help it hide in the winter snow. How cool is that? Their eyes are different from normal bears too, though, because they're very much like cats. They have a slit vertical pupil. Who knew? Their cubs are well protected in their first month. Mother keeps in constant contact with their baby 100% of the time during the first month. All the things you learned about pandas today. Like, subscribe.
I love that. I had no idea that their eyes were like that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, it's because of the fact that naturally they're in snowy areas, which is very, very bright. And they do a lot of their stuff and they have to have the adjustments for it. So every animal has a different eye for a reason. And it's one of the ones that I'm looking at doing in the future is distinctive animal eyes and why they do it. Like reindeer's eyes change color. They go from a blue to a golden brown, and they do it depending on the season because it has to adjust for the light that comes into and out of their eyes. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, their paws also grow and shrink. Reindeer's paws grow and shrink because the terrain that they walk on changes from winter to summer. So it'll grow and shrink as they move along. It's seasonal.
That's interesting.
Didn't know.
And I'm fascinated too with jackrabbits.
Yes.
They're brown in the summer and white in the winter.
Yep.
Again, the camouflage thing is well, I guess it's a safety thing. It keeps them alive. It makes it hard for the groups that prey on them to find them.
Yeah.
But I can remember living in Calgary and having this giant, they're huge, giant jackrabbit hopping down my street in the dead of winter.
5 or 6 eating out of, like, because I have bird feeders in my front tree, and I'll have bunny wars in my front yard at night, because they're guarding the leftover bird seed, because in the winter it's a valuable commodity.
Now, you had a funny experience. Now, you live in a very residential neighborhood, and you had a bobcat wandering around the neighborhood, checking out people's garage doors and front yards. And
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about them.
I actually have a video on my YouTube about Bob the bobcat. So we have a family of bobcats that live in our neighborhood, and they hunt the jackrabbits and some of the moles and voles, and they pretty much like sleep in people's backyards that don't have dogs and cats. But we actually had one of our bobcats ended up, a person was trying, this is what I talk about with coexisting. A person got this like metal trap. I'm assuming they were doing it for the gophers, but the bobcat ended up getting its paw in this metal trap and ended up having to be caught, but spent almost a week with this trap on its paw before we could catch it and take it to the rehabilitation center and have it rehabilitated through surgery and stuff. We're hoping that she will be released, because this was Bobby, not Bob. And yeah, she's very well loved in the neighborhood. The neighborhood has really rallied around this bobcat, which is surprising. And we never found out who had the trap, but she's on the mend, and she should be back in our neighborhood hopefully in the next few months.
Wow, that's, it's interesting, because when people look at and cats fascinate me anyway, because they really haven't changed, whether it's a domestic or in the wild. They're exactly the same, other than the size difference. I'm always fascinated by how people view cats, because there are people who are terrified of cats.
Oh yeah, no. Every time there's a sighting of the bobcat, and I mean it drives me crazy, because there's always somebody. If you see a bobcat or you see a coyote, guard your pets, lock everything down. Well, no, okay, so hold on. When it comes to small dogs and small cats, yes, you should be outside with them if they're outside, because it's not just the coyote. Because like I said, they don't really want to interact with us. It's not just the bobcat, but we have owls that'll pick off a small dog. I've literally had a bald eagle within 5 feet of me sitting there, and my border collie took a seat to this animal because it knew better. like we need to understand that we don't have to overreact. It's good to react, but every day you should go out with your animal if it's small, because it cannot defend itself. And an owl will take it away. Yeah. It's not just one type of animal, it's multiples. And we shouldn't fear them.
Bob. So the Bob.
There's Bob.
Now this is our neighborhood pest control manager. Now this guy, if you've got a vole, a mole, or a rabbit problem, he's hot on the job. You just give him a call. Don't even worry about opening your fence, because he'll jump in your backyard and make sure that the problem is eradicated. Now, he works tirelessly from dusk till dawn every day, ensuring that all your pest problems are well in hand. So if you ever see Bob, just raise a hand and say, "Hey, Bob," because he's just out there doing his job, ensuring that your neighborhood is pest free.
That astounds me. Like, where I live, there's a lot of raccoons and rabbits and squirrels. And a little further from us, there's a ravine area that, there's a creek, and we'll see deer and fox and stuff in there. But in our yards, we're not seeing those things. More raccoons.
You wouldn't see them. That's the thing with bobcats, is you typically wouldn't see them unless you end up on that rare day, because they hunt from dawn till dusk. So they work at night. So unless you're out at night, you're not going to see them for the most part.
Dusk to dawn, you mean?
Yeah, that's it. I'm sorry. I am recovering from COVID. I am very sick.
So that's all good, because it took a minute to go, wait a minute.
Yeah. No, they work mostly at night. They are very nocturnal. And one of the cool interactions we had with a bobcat is one of my daughter's cats went missing, and we put out food for the cat. And this was in a different neighborhood. This is when they weren't living under my roof. And went out there at night because we thought we heard the cat. And here's this bobcat eating out of it. And my husband almost pet it, thinking it was a regular cat, because they're not that big. but they're big
Yeah.
enough, right?
Big,
Anyway,
big enough that you don't want it. And again, it's a wild animal.
it's a wild animal. But people
Respect.
tell you, leave some litter out, leave some food out when your cat goes missing. So occasionally you end up with a bigger version. So
Well, I think it's interesting to really take a look at our planet and the things that are working and the things that are not working. And I think what we learned through COVID, in those initial lockdown times, was
yes,
the wildlife flourished, plant
yes,
life flourished. Take the human out of the equation, and all of a sudden, planet Earth is restored to its magnificence. So, as we're, getting close to the end of our show here, what would you like to leave people with? Like, what's the final thought that you think is really important that we take away from this show today?
I think if you take anything, it's two things. One, never stop learning. Never stop learning. We are never old enough to stop learning. It is so much fun to learn different things and to be excited all the time. And I think sometimes we get locked down, and we really need to explore that and get more excited, because there's so much to learn about this planet we live on. It's such an amazing place. And let go of fear. Let go of fear. If you don't understand it, research it. Don't fear it. If you stop fearing the things that you don't understand. That goes for bugs and animals and situations. Research it first, and then get over the fear. So whatever your fear is, research it and see if it helps, because fear is a great stumper. And I would love to see people learn more about the things and the things around them and how to coexist with them and to make a better planet, because fear is what drives a lot of devastation, and we don't need it. We just need more education, because we can have fun with life. Be fascinated, not fearful.
Be fascinated, be curious, be willing to explore new ideas. Definitely subscribe to Arlene's Amazing Planet.
Please.
Yeah, subscribe, like, comment. She loves comments. I think what's really important about this YouTube channel of yours is that you're providing a fun, interesting, and accessible way of getting this information that we can share with our children. But even as adults, I find it fascinating, the
Yes.
things that you cover. So I think this is really a remarkable thing that you're doing. And it's important to humanity right now to learn how to coexist with nature, with each other,
With everything.
with everything. Coexistence. That's the key. Well, my darling daughter, who said she's 50, can't be so, because I'm only 39. So
I don't know how that happens.
what's wrong with this math? Well, you'll have to do a math video about that, because somehow it's not adding up.
I only do facts, so I couldn't do a video about that if I wanted to. It's not fictional.
Oh, cheeky. All right. Well, Arlene, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for doing what you're doing. I love your videos. Well, I love you, but regardless of you being my child, I love your videos. They are informative, they're interesting, and they're fun. So thank you so much. And to all of you watching today, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe and share, and find your own natural rhythm. Live your true, passionate, wonderful self. Be curious and find out more about the world that you live in. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you again next week. Bye for now.
Bye.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network. Come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace and blessings.